Thank you very much, Chris. He's off to his next appointment already. So just before introducing our next speaker, I'm just going to give just a little background for everybody who's new here and new to the area, just on mHealth and where we're coming from and what the day is about generally. So this is our inaugural mobile health conference. And just to acknowledge all of the various logos around, it's supported by the Irish Research Council, NUI Galway, the Whitaker Institute, and in part by the Research Leader Award held the HRB by Brian Maguire and the eHealth Group. So very well supported. For anyone who's not sure, although I know obviously that's why you're here, mobile health, mHealth, is a fairly new term, mobile technology, and it's really to do with any mobile device in the support of health and health behaviours. It's a very new development, and it's been looked at very closely by healthcare providers as to how we can use this for people's health going forward, given that it's such pervasive technology now. One of the interesting things about it compared to other forms of healthcare is the consumer has really latched onto this idea. So Chris was talking about his mobile phone, the wearables. So a lot of it is consumer driven, and a lot of the time the services are behind and trying to catch up with how they can utilise or embrace this technology. And then there's more recent talk about taking these wearable technologies and mobile devices and moving them more towards a medical device. And there's a lot of debate over the regulation and whether or not that's safe. So this is potentially the way forward with these new technologies, and we have some of these cutting-edge technology developers here today who will be talking about some of the work that they do. In Ireland, we have an eHealth strategy that was written, and Richard Corbridge, who wrote this strategy, would love to have been here today, but he couldn't. But he's endorsing our conference, you'll be glad to hear, and he sent us this quote just to bring home how important the HSE views the eHealth and mHealth going forward for the healthcare of the public. Also, the hashtag eHealthForAll, you can see is one that you can use today if you want Richard to listen to what you're saying. So the new technology is a massively growing market, generating a huge income. The global market, as you can see, has really increased. It's worth a lot of money. So there's a lot of people interested in this. The consumers love the products. The developers are very excited about potential profits and so on. The healthcare is kind of going, how can we use this properly? But in there, in the middle of all of this, are people who are using it, and whether or not it's being used correctly is a whole other question. So the EU Green Paper just gave some stats and said not only is the global market hugely increasing, but the potential savings to healthcare are massive. And this is an estimate, and this estimate continues to grow. And of course, this is where our health economists are so important, trying to see really how this can be used in a way that will save money, but also be effective. The World Health Organization published a paper on this in 2011, and one of the things they highlighted, and it's probably one of the reasons we're all here today, is that while this market is moving so quickly, the evidence on whether or not it's effective or how it's been developed or used is lagging well behind. So there's very little evidence on the efficacy of these, and that is published is very new still and hasn't fully been consolidated. But the key thing there is that without some form of evidence base for the use of this technology going forward, it won't be properly integrated in the way that it could be, and it won't achieve its potential in the health service. So part of our job here is to form our multidisciplinary groups and to create these global standards for the use of this technology for the provision of healthcare. So that's where we come in here, the School of Psychology, and as I've said before, for the development of research in this going forward, you have the technologists, the really creative people who are developing the technologies. You have the medics and the healthcare providers who are saying these are our areas of weakness, these are potential areas we could use this. And then you have the health psychologists, behavioural scientists who are saying, well, if you want people to use it or engage or use it properly, you need health behaviour science. And so those three are what we call the A team. So using scientific methods for health behaviour change, that's a key part to the integration of technology in medicine for health behaviour change. And this is just an example of some of the science we use. Some of you are familiar with it. There's a huge science in behind behaviour change, and it's how can this be adapted and adopted into these technologies for good medical practice. So part of the work we do, we've established the mHealth Research Group here at NUI Galway. It's a very multidisciplinary group. We have people from medicine, IT, economics, everything, and we are trying to work in projects in this area to look at developing good methodologies and good interventions where technology, medicine and psychology are combined for the best possible outcomes. And hopefully this work will lead to some of the creation of these standards and policy changes for the use of mHealth technologies. So I got thanked, but really this would not be happening without this fantastic committee. I know I usually leave thank yous to the end of the day, but I think it's important to get them in early. So they're here now, they're identified with their names in the audience, look out for them. They are absolutely fantastic group and have been instrumental really in getting us this far today. So thank you very, very much. So one last thing is just to say that before I introduce our speaker, we have a live Twitter feed here. It's a technology conference, so any of you who are on Twitter, please comment away. You can literally speak about the speakers behind their backs there and post photos and all sorts and comment. And there's one of these screens also out in the hall as well. So before the break, we will have 2 speakers, which I will introduce, and then we'll have a coffee break. So it's with great pleasure I would like to introduce our first speaker today, Dr. Liam Glynn, who is based here in NUI Galway in the Department of General Practice. Liam is a general practitioner, but also an excellent scientist and one of the first people to conduct research in the use of mobile applications for health behaviour change with patients in a clinical setting. And he's doing a lot of very innovative projects in this area. And so he's going to talk to you today about a project that he published recently, one of the first of its kind, called Smart Move, and also look at how these technologies can be used for health going forward. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Liam Glynn.